This beautiful form of the Lord, right, is worshipped all over the world today. Of course, we know that Jagannath is mostly worshipped in Puri. But because of Srila Prabhupada's mercy, today Jagannath Rath Yatra festivals are all over the world. All over the world. There isn't a part of the world that doesn't celebrate Rath Yatra. And I'm not talking about the Hindu community. I'm actually talking about everyone else besides the Hindu community. In South America we have Rath Yatras. In America we have Rath Yatras. In all the corners of the world we have Rath Yatras. In Malaysia alone, right, in a year, they have 22 Rath Yatras. Can you imagine that? 22 Rath Yatras in Malaysia. That's how many Rath Yatras they have. So we're very fortunate that Jagannath is here. And we are even more fortunate that tomorrow actually, right, we are going to have a Rath Yatra in the center. You can see the little Rath here, isn't it? Right here. Of course, these deities are too big to go in here. They're not going to get in there. So we've got smaller deities, and tomorrow the children from Gopal's garden, as well as the youths, they will run the entire Rath Yatra program in the Gopala Center. That doesn't mean that we cannot come. You're all welcome, right? We're expecting a nice group of devotees to come. Come and join us, because there'll be plenty of kirtan, and it's all run by the children and the youths, and it's going to be very nice because when adults run it, we just run it. But when children run it, right, the good thing is they become encouraged. They are actually working with Jagannath directly. So that's a very important thing for us to remember. This month is actually the month of Purushottam Maas. And in Purushottam Maas, one very important thing comes across. You will realize that Purushottam Maas doesn't happen every year. Right? It doesn't happen every year. And in fact, there's a reason why it doesn't happen also every year. And the other thing about Purushottam Maas that we should remember is that there are two reasons in Sastras. There is a practical reason why Purushottam Maas happens, and there's also a very deep philosophical reason why the significance of Purushottam Maas should be understood. And since we are already in Purushottam Maas, it's good for us to understand what we should do during this most holy of month. Right? Another important way to describe Purushottam Maas is actually it is the month of Purushottam. And you all know that Purushottam is another name for Krishna. And specifically in this month, chapter 15 of the Bhagavad Gita is the chapter that we all chant. Because chapter 15 is entitled the Yoga of that Supreme Person known as Purushottama. So chapter 15 is dedicated, right, under the name and style and significance of Krishna as Purushottam. And that is why during Purushottam Maas, I will request all of you to please daily pick up Bhagavad Gita, open up to chapter 15 and recite the entire chapter. But reciting the chapter is one thing. More important than reciting the chapter is to understand what the chapter means. Right? That is why we actually go deeper into Sastras. So my request to you is while you chant chapter 15, please also take the trouble and time to read the translations. The translations of Bhagavad Gita are so important, especially Bhagavad Gita as it is. Right? And there we are, right at the back, we have copies of the Bhagavad Gita, and later I really hope you will take the opportunity to take them for yourselves if you don't have them. You may tell yourself, well, I have a copy of Bhagavad Gita at home, so why do I need Bhagavad Gita as it is? Scholars around the world, not just from our society, but also scholars of Vedic culture, they all have agreed that this version, if I may use that word loosely, of Bhagavad Gita as it is probably the most accurate and the most authentic version of what Krishna spoke on the battlefield. It's very important that we read something that Krishna actually spoke and not something someone thinks Krishna spoke about. There is a big difference between interpreting what the Lord has said and stating what the Lord has said. That's why Bhagavad Gita here is known as Bhagavad Gita as it is. So pick up a copy of that and read 15th chapter. And if you read it daily, the amount of devotional piety and devotional opulence that you will get in this month is unimaginable and immeasurable. That is a very important thing. Now, when you look at it from a calculation point of view, this month, right, is very different in terms of calculation. In the Vedic calendar, for example, you will know that there are elements of solar and lunar, and they both are running. In one sense, they run, not against each other, but they run in slightly different timings. If you look at the lunar running, right, you will find that in the lunar year, the moon revolves 12 times around our planet, and that becomes one lunar year. So the moon, when it revolves around planet Earth, it becomes one lunar year. And we can calculate it, it's not very difficult. But at the same time, we also know that there's such a thing as the movement of the sun, and that is the solar movement. And in Sastras, the solar movements are there in such a way that the movement of the planets are calculated vis-a-vis the movement of the sun. So if you look at the part of Sastra that actually calculates the amount of time, you realize that the movement of the moon around Earth comes to about 354 days, right? And it's about 8 hours, 48 minutes, and maybe 50 to 55 seconds. That's the exact calculation. So it's about 354 days plus. The movement of the sun is 365 days, 48 minutes, and a little bit more on the seconds. Now, the difference may not be so much when we calculate it, but if this difference is allowed to continue year after year after year, the confluence of the sun and the moon becomes vastly different. Vastly different. It's like, you start with a small point of difference. If any one of you are sailing on ships and you have a guide, and you just chart your course 0.1 degree further, in the beginning you don't feel it. But at the end, right, you may be going to America, you'll end up in Africa. That's how bad it is. So the difference between the solar and the lunar calculation may appear small, but the difference, if it's allowed to continue, Sastras tell us it will widen significantly. And so Krishna is the supreme architect of this material universe. And he has designed this material universe to perfection. But if there is an apparent discrepancy, Krishna always has a way to solve that. And that is also true in our lives. When we have discrepancies in our lives, we have no one else to turn to except Krishna. Because Krishna is the source of everything in this world. Therefore, if there is a discrepancy, it is only to Krishna that we can turn to. And so what happened was, when there is a difference between this time, every 32 months and 16 days, that's roughly the calculation. Every 32 months, 16 days, what will happen is, by Krishna's arrangement, an additional month will jump into our calendar. Okay? And that additional month that comes in perfectly aligns the lunar and the solar configurations. It's amazing, isn't it? In no other part of any culture in the world, anywhere, do you have this kind of precision of understanding how our planets move and how they can be compensated if there is a difference, right? If you look at the Muslim calendar, this month, right, is Muharram, right? And for those of you who know Islamic culture and you've been around in Singapore, Malaysia, you realize this is considered to be the most auspicious month also for the Muslims. And every time Purushottam Maas comes into the world, it always coincides with the Muharram month of the Muslim calendar. It's very interesting. Even though in the Muslim calendar they have no conception, right, of the difference between the timings. And yet by Krishna's mercy, even if you come from a different faith, somehow or another our timings are all adjusted. How that is possible is mind-boggling. But then Krishna is not a simple architect. He is the supreme architect. So therefore, any discrepancies that appear to be there, Krishna can always take care of. So that is why this month is not only known as Purushottam Maas, it's also known as Adhik Maas. Adhik means extra, right? It's an extra Maas. Now, every month, if you know, has a specific deity, right? And this deity is very often a Devata. And very often there's a Devata who presides over a month. And that Devata, just like a Devata presides over different parts of our bodies, right? There are Devatas that presides over months. Apart from that also, every month has also a particular name of Krishna. You know, you've read it so many times, right? So many different months and so many different names of Krishna. So you have the Devatas who are involved in every month because they look after the month, and they all report finally to Krishna. Because Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is Govindam Adi Purusham. Now what happened was, right, our Shastras tell us, when Krishna designed this world, the material manifestation, in such a way that Adik Maas will be the extra month that comes in, by the grace of Krishna, this month was born into the world. And just like every other month has a form of Vishnu or Krishna presiding, and a Devata who is actually there, delegated with the work, this month, this extra month of Purushottam Maas, at that time it was not called Purushottam Maas, right? It's just Adik Maas because it's extra Maas. Then the month realized that it actually had no protection of any form of Krishna. It had no protection of any Devata, and therefore it was considered to be inauspicious. It was considered to be inauspicious. So our Shastras tell us that this month that came into being from Krishna, she found herself abandoned. All the other months were well protected, and therefore they were considered auspicious. But she was not considered auspicious. And the other months avoided her because no Devata was there, and no presiding deity of the Lord was actually there. In fact, in this month of Purushottam, there is no Sankranti also. If you know your Vedic calendar, every month has a Sankranti, but there is no Sankranti in Purushottam Maas. So when the Devatas heard, and all the other months also heard, that even the sun does not come through this month in the form of Sankranti, then they thought this month is really most inauspicious. You know, because even Surya is not touching it in the form of Sankranti. So then where to go? What to do? So that is why all the other months referred to this month as Malamas. Malamas means unfortunate, very unfortunate. So Adik Maas, extra, right? And Malamas, it is unfortunate. And therefore, the effect of this, if someone keeps telling you you're very inauspicious, or you're born at the wrong time, the stars are not aligned, nobody wants to look after you, nobody wants to be your mentor, nobody wants to be your friend, how would you feel? You won't feel very happy, right? You know? And that's what the month felt. So the month actually began to feel rejected. She felt dejected. She felt morose. And she felt very depressed. And this sense of abandonment is something that's very difficult in this material world. Bhagavatam tells us in this material world, the nature of Kali Yuga is such that even if we have family around us, we can still feel alone. Even when we have people around us, we can still feel abandoned. This is the nature of Kali Yuga. That's why so many people have so many challenges. It affects their mind. That's why psychologists, mental health, wellness, all this is becoming more important in society because people are recognizing that we are living in a place where we are surrounded by people, but we are living in an age where we feel lonely. And this feeling is very bad. The feeling of feeling abandoned. So this Malamas, she approached all her fellow monks, and they all said, we can't help you. She turned to the Devatas, and the Devatas said, what can we do for you? No one is assigned to you, and everyone's quota is full. We can't do much about you. So then she thought, why should I go to everyone when the source of everyone is known as Paramparayanam? Paramparayanam in Bhagavatam means the source of all shelters. Parayanam means shelter, right? That's why we say Krishna Parayanam. That means Krishna is our shelter. But in Shastras, Krishna is referred to as Paramparayanam. When we are young, we seek the shelter of our parents. Isn't it true? When we were young, we all looked to our parents. Our parents were our heroes. When we became teenagers, suddenly we looked to our friends. And then sometimes we look to other people as role models. And we look to them and we thought, They are our heroes. Our parents are outdated. You don't know what's happening. Right? They are all in ancient history. So that's how we looked at our parents. And then we looked at our friends and other people from outside as influences. Before this TikTok and all came, we also had influences, people we looked up to. And then after a while we realized they were also not very satisfactory to what we want. Then probably we got married or we liked somebody and then we looked up to them. My husband is my hero, my wife is my heroine, like that. And then after a while when our children came, then they became everything to us. We always think our children are very young, we are giving them shelter. But wait till the day they leave the house and go and study somewhere and suddenly you realize, oh my God, all this time I was thinking they were dependent on us. But actually we are very much dependent on them. Without them the house is very quiet. You know, I have so many devotees around the world, children go off to study, then they call me and say, Prabhu, all the while I thought that I'll be missed, but now I'm missing them. And they are not missing me. They're having a good time. I have to call them. Hey, where are you? What are you doing? No, I'm very busy, I'm very busy. And then finally, when we are very old, when we are much older, we realize this is what we did to our parents. You know? And then in the end, by the time we are 50, our parents are 70, 80. And then in those years, we say how much we value you. Because, you know, you were our original heroes. We took 50 years to realize that. And now we're coming back again. But by then, very often it is too late. It is too late. So, Maas, Adik Maas, she was put in that situation. She was thinking, why must I go everywhere when I can just go to the source of all sources, the source of all shelters? He who brought me into this world is surely my shelter. Remember this point. He who has brought us into this world must surely be the shelter of all shelters. That is why Bhagavatam and Shastras tell us one thing. Please accept that this material world by nature is temporary. You must accept that the nature of this world is temporary. And because it is temporary, you will always have misery and anxiety. Dukhalaya ashashvatam. Right? Why? Because when something is temporary and you get attached to it, you don't realize that it can never ever be with you. So your attachment to it is also temporary, even though you want it to last forever. And because we don't realize that nothing lasts forever, I say realize. We know nothing lasts forever, but realization is very different, isn't it? Right? We go for so many funerals where people die. And when we look at them, we think, poor thing, you know, they have passed on. But we never think as we watch them that my turn would be tomorrow. We sometimes think everybody else in the room could die, but I won't die so fast. Sometimes we think that way. That's why Yudhishthira Maharaj was asked in Mahabharata, what is the most wonderful thing in the world? And he said the most wonderful thing in the world is that every day someone is dying, but those who live think that they will live forever. Isn't that amazing? That is the most wonderful thing in the world. It's the most ridiculous thing in the world, if you ask me. Because here we are, we don't accept that we are temporary, and yet we become attached to everything, thinking that it will be permanent. The only thing permanent in our lives is Krishna and Bhakti. These are the two things that becomes our pillar. And where there is Krishna, there is Bhakti. And where there is Bhakti, Krishna will always be there. They can never be separated. And so, Adik Maas, Mother Maas, decided, because she felt abandoned, because she felt dejected, she thought, let me take shelter of Krishna. And so she approached the Lord, and she told the Lord, Lord, I'm feeling very left out. Left out. Have you all ever felt left out of anything? It probably has happened sometime, somewhere. You walk into a social function, everybody knows everyone. You don't know anyone. You feel left out, right? You don't know what to do. You're just waiting for the time to pass. Sometimes you go for a program, and suddenly you realize, hey, I'm very new, everybody knows everyone. Then it becomes very difficult. Sometimes you join a new college, a new school, and you worry overnight, will I fit in with my friends, or will I be left out? Everybody has these feelings. Nobody wants to be left out. And so Adik Maas, Mother Maas, she did not want to be left out, but she felt left out. And so she said, Krishna, I have nowhere else to turn to, and no one else to turn to except you. I feel abandoned, and I feel unprotected. This is a very important point. If we want to be peaceful in this world, we need protection. That is a fact. And that protection can only come from one who is permanent, and that is Krishna. Any other kind of protection you want will be temporary. How much can medicines protect us? How much can the best doctors protect us? And how much, can our age protect us? Eventually our age will abandon us, isn't it? Eventually our beauty and strength will abandon us. Eventually, even the most loving of loved ones, either they have to leave us or we have to leave them. There's no other way. It is a fact. It's a fact. As a lawyer, one of my areas of practice is wills, testaments, and trusts. And I always get clients coming and saying, I'm going to draw up a will. I'm going to give this much to my daughter, this much to my son, And sometimes what they do is they tell me, my son has not spoken to me for 20 years. So I'm going to give everything to my daughter. And I want to put in the will, I'm not giving anything to my son because he has not spoken to me. And like that, they have so many plans because they think that they are giving something that belongs to them. But they don't realize that whatever they are giving is not theirs to give actually. It is just theirs to pass. Because if it was theirs to give, they will take it with them when they die. Isn't that the definition of give? If you give something, you own it. If you own something, wherever you go, you take it with you. But if you can't take it with you after you die, forget about dying. Even before we die, many things leave us. Before we die already, many things will leave us. So where is the question of giving something when you don't even have it in the first place? So Adik Maas, Mother Maas, she realized all these very important principles of Bhagavatam. And then she approached Krishna. And then she said, my Lord, I'm going to take your shelter. And I'm going to be dependent on you. In this world, we try to be independent. But you realize that it's very hard to be independent. Because in life, we are invariably dependent on someone. Even if you're not dependent on someone, you're dependent on the blessings of the Lord. You're dependent on the weather of the world, the state of the world. You cannot be free of it. So Malama said, only Krishna is independent. He is known as Swarat. And therefore, she took to the shelter of the Lord. She just fell at his lotus feet. And she did that. And when she did that, Krishna became so pleased with her dependence on him, so pleased with her surrender to him, that he told her a very important point. He told her that now that you have surrendered to me, you do not need any devatas to take care of you. I will personally take care of you. You don't need Surya to go through you and have Sankranti. Because I, the perfect person, Purushottam, let me be your protector in this month. And then Krishna made an announcement to all the other months and all the devatas. Of all the months that will be in this world, Purushottam Maas will be declared as the highest, most auspicious and greatest of all months. And the reason it is going to be so is because this month depended completely on me, and therefore it is my duty to give her shelter. And the more we are dependent on Krishna, the more he will give us shelter. And so in this month, right, this entire month becomes so auspicious because while this month could not find shelter anywhere, she found shelter in the most perfect person who is known as Purushottama. Okay? So this is the reason why Purushottama is very important. Any kind of endeavor that you do for Krishna in this month is multiplied millions of times. Not thousands of times, millions of times. This is how auspicious Purushottam Maas is. So what should we do in Purushottam Maas? We should do exactly what you're doing now. Come and hear about Krishna. And if you can't come, don't worry. Open up Bhagavad Gita every day. Read chapter 15. Read it from end to end. You can take a whole month to read it. Read it with your family. Read the translation, but recite the shlokas every day. You are encouraged to light a lamp for Krishna. No? Just one simple ghee lamp. Light it for Krishna and offer it to the Lord. And remember the Lord as Purushottam. It's a very important thing. And there's a very beautiful prayer for this specific month that I want to chant with you, and I hope you can repeat with me. It's a prayer that comes from one of our Puranas, and it is actually the essence of surrender to Krishna. Okay? So just repeat after me, and after that we can also understand the meaning of the prayer. Nanyam vadhami, na shrunomi, na chintayami, nanyam smarami, na bhajami, na cha ashrayami, Krishna tvadiya charanambujamantarena Shri Srinivasa Purushottama Tava Dehi Dasyam Nanyam Vadami Na Shrunomi Na Chintayami Nanyam Smarami Na Bhajami Na Cha Ashrayami Krishna Tvadiya Charanambujamantarena Shri Srinivasa Purushottama Tava Dehi Dasyam. I will not speak anything else.
I won't speak anything else.
I will not hear anything else.
I will not hear anything else.
I will not remember anyone else.
I will not remember anyone else.
I will not worship anything else.
I will not worship anything else.
I will not take any other source of shelter.
I will not take any other source of shelter.
O Krishna,
O Krishna,
your lotus feet
your lotus feet
are situated within my heart.
are situated within my heart.
Shri Srinivasa
Shri Srinivasa
Purushottama,
Purushottama,
please engage me
please engage me
in your devotion service.
in your devotional service.
Such a beautiful prayer, isn't it? And this is the prayer that Maas, Adik Maas, Purushottam Maas, this was her prayer to Krishna. When she approached Krishna, this was the mantras that she chanted. And because she chanted these mantras with so much of love and so much of feeling, so much of devotion, Krishna became very, very happy with her. Very happy with her. So, the principle of surrender in our sastras, in our life, is very important. And when we say that we surrender to Krishna, what do we mean? It actually means 6 things. And I want to share that with you before we end our time on speaking on Purushottam Maas. The principle of surrender is known as Sharanagati. You all know Sharanagati. Sharanagati means we surrender. But sometimes we use the word loosely. You know, we tell Krishna, I'm surrendered to you. But what does it actually mean? Surrendering, our sastras tell us, actually means we must actually be doing the following things. Then it is accepted as surrender. The first thing that we must do is to accept things which are favorable to bhakti. This is very important. In other words, that which will help you to remember Krishna, that you must take, and you must keep, and you must practice. If you do that, you have started on the path to surrender. Second very important thing. Prabhuji, you can come forward. Don't stand on the steps, I feel bad. Come, there's plenty of space here. Come forward. Come. Yes. Come, please. Come. The second item of surrender is just like we accept things favorable for bhakti, we must be prepared to reject things which are unfavorable to bhakti. If you are doing something that makes you forget Krishna, then that activity should be put aside. If you're really serious about surrender, you will not allow anything to come in between you and the person you're surrendering to. So that which is unfavorable, you please put aside. And that which is favorable, you please and praise. This is very important. The third quality or third item or third limb of surrender is always firmly believe in the Lord's protection. This is very important. A devotee is one who firmly believes that Krishna will never let me down. Look at Hanumanji in Ramayana. How much faith and surrender he had. Anything that did not have to do with Lord Ram, he rejected. Anything that was favorable for him to assist Lord Ram, he accepted. Right? You remember one time Hanumanji went to the court and he saw Sita Mata having sindoor. And he asked her, why are you putting that? Because he had never seen it. And she said, I put that because when I put that, it means it is a symbol that my Lord is being protected. My Lord Ram. That's why we do that. We pray for auspiciousness for our husband. So that's why I'm doing it. So Hanumanji became very excited. And then the next day he came to the court, everybody got a shock. Because he had put sindoor entirely on his whole body. Isn't it? He applied it everywhere. Everything was in excess. So Sita Mata asked him, why are you putting it all over yourself? He said, no, you put it just a little bit and you were giving him protection. I was thinking it's so favorable, isn't it? So I should just put as much as I can. And I thought, better put it on me. And since Hanumanji can grow very big, he can put quite a lot, right, of saffron himself. And he did that because he thought that's favorable. Favorable to his bhakti, and it is favorable for the Lord. You see, this is the mood of a devotee, right? It's very important. So, things that are favorable to bhakti, we accept. Things which are unfavorable to our bhakti, we reject. Always firmly believe in Krishna's protection. The next item that's really important is what Maas defined. She felt exclusively dependent on the Lord's mercy. Very important. Exclusively dependent. Sometimes what happens with some of us is, we do this shopping, window shopping. Krishna, please help me. Okay, just in case he doesn't help me, I'll go to someone else and I'll pray. You help me. Just, don't put everything into one basket, isn't it? That's not exclusive dependence. How will you feel, mothers, if your daughters and sons say, I have full faith in you, but I'll also listen to my auntie from time to time. You get fed up, isn't it? I am the mother. Why are you going to other people? In the same way, be chaste to Krishna. Chastity is not only for women. Chastity is a spiritual concept. What it actually means is to become exclusively dependent on the mercy of the Lord. And that really, really attracts Krishna's mercy. The fifth limb that's very important is that we should have no interest which is separate from Krishna. Our interest in life is always aligned with Krishna. If Krishna wants, we will do it. That's why devotees always say, Prabhu, I'll see you next week, Krishna willing. We use the word Krishna willing. The Muslims define this mood of Sharanagati because they always say that God willing, we will do something. Right? They always do that. Sometimes it may be as if we've taken it for granted, but when you pull your brakes and think about it, that is the principle of Sharanagati. Because it actually means that we have firm faith that only if Krishna wills, I will flow. If Krishna doesn't want me to go that path, I'll try, but if he doesn't want, I must stop. That is the mood of a devotee. Have you been in situations where you wanted something and you went this way, and suddenly you found that you were forced to go that way? That is Krishna's hand. A devotee learns to recognize it. Arjuna was another example of this Sharanagati. He did not want to fight on the battlefield. Didn't want to fight. But when Krishna told him to do it for Krishna's pleasure and not his satisfaction, then Arjuna aligned his interests with the interests of the Lord. That is Sharanagati. You see, that is Sharanagati. And the last point that's really important is always to feel that we are always feel this sense of humility and helplessness. That actually we are always to be guided and protected by the Lord. It's a very important feeling of humility and surrender. Now, these 6 items constitute Sharanagati. And all these 6 items were embodied in Adhik Maas, Maas, and Purushottam Maas. And that is why till today, Purushottam Maas is exalted. That is why she is revered. And I cannot begin to tell you how auspicious it is that you have all gathered here today. It's amazing. And I hope by listening to what we have spoken about, it gives you context, it gives you a good understanding and a good solid foundation to know why we are doing these things. We should never do something just because we are told to do it. We should be thoughtful enough to understand why we must do something. And our sastras are so powerful that they give solid reasons. Our Vedic culture is so deep that there is nothing that we do which is actually considered to be superfluous, to be capricious, or to be whimsical. Nothing. Everything has a meaning to it. That is the greatness of this culture. And it is your duty, every one of you, to perpetuate this culture. If this Vedic culture is lost, we will never understand the meaning of Purushottam Maas. We will never know how many years, how many days the lunar cycle takes, how many days the solar cycle takes, and why Adhik Maas came. We will never understand the mood of Purushottam Maas and how it ties up with Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and our scriptures. So please, don't take this meeting to be a ritual. Don't come together because Friday night I have nothing else to do, I have to come. No, we are coming together because we are serious about taking shelter of Krishna. That's what we should do. And what is the best way to take shelter of Him? To chant His names. And that is a good way to end our program. Right? By ending, I don't mean I'm going to sing for only 5 minutes. We should sing for a good 15-20 minutes. And we should really put our hearts into it. So this time, can I request everyone to sing very loudly? How many of you are bathroom singers? Yes. Many of you are bathroom singers, right? The good thing about the bathroom is nobody can enter when you're inside. So that's how you're saved, and that's why you're a bathroom singer, you see. Because if you're a bathroom singer and you sing very badly, people should be killing you instead of keeping you alive. I've heard some bathroom singers where, parents tell me, we just pray that she or he doesn't enter the bathroom because then it's not about the water, it's about the song that comes out of it. But it doesn't matter to Krishna. Just like Adhik Maas and Mala Maas had so many disqualifications, Purushottama accepted her. So it doesn't matter whether you can sing, you can't sing. What matters is, are you putting your heart into it? So shall we do that now? Jai Purushottam Maas ki Jai. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Jai Shri Shri Jagannath Baladev Subramani ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande. Okay, let me set myself up here. So I'm not going to stop singing until I hear everybody singing very well. And then I'll decide, okay, we'll stop and then we can start. Okay? So that's a good way to get everyone to sing. I'm sure there's some trained singers here. How many of you are trained? Any classical singers here that we have? Anyone taking lessons? Nice, nice. So this is the time to sing for Krishna. Jai Shri Hari Ram Sankirtan Yajna ki Jai. You can reduce this group. Just reduce it. Just nice. That's good. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Rama Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, I can't hear you. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Bol Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama If I go to Hari Bol, if I go to Hari Bol, Hari Bol. If I go to Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. If I go to Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare जय श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन यज्ञ की जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा मैया की जय श्री पुरुषोत्तम मास की अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की, श्रील प्रभुपाद की, श्रील गुरुदेव की, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे। जय श्रील प्रभुपाद की।